Somewhere out there, a fully grown adult once typed, "Do cows drink milk?" into Google and hit enter with confidence. These were genuine panicked cries for information, sent from devices more powerful than the computers that landed men on the moon. And trust me, that's just the warm up. It gets so much worse. 1. Someone once Googled, "Can you get pregnant from swimming in a pool?" And not as a joke, as a genuine, trembling question from the depths of panic. Imagine being so terrified of biology that you think a public pool is basically a floating baby factory. Ma'am, if your biggest fear is chlorine-based conception, you might want to sit down before we explain how Wi-Fi doesn't actually give you brain cancer. I like to picture the person hitting enters on that search like it's a life or death decision, one hand on their stomach, the other on the keyboard, whispering, "Please, Google, tell me I'm not carrying the air to the deep end." The saddest part? They probably found a form where someone said, "maybe." And that's how misinformation breeds. One panicked swimmer and an internet connection. 2, someone typed, "Is an egg a fruit? I can't even be mad." That's the kind of question that feels like it came from a person trying really, really hard to sound deep during a high conversation. You can almost hear the brain gears grinding. Okay, fruit grows from a flower, chickens lay eggs, and then silence because logic just rage quit the room. Somewhere, a biology teacher wept into a lab coat that day. Honestly, I hope this person works in marketing now. That's the same energy as calling ketchup a smoothie and convincing people it's a lifestyle. 3. Do dogs get jet lag? Asked presumably by someone whose pet has a better travel record than most people's grandparents. Imagine being at the airport and seeing someone explain to TSA that their golden retriever needs a window seat because he's still adjusting to Paris time. Dogs don't know what time it is. They only know food and not food. If your dog looks confused after a flight, it's not the time zones. It's because you made him sit next to a screaming toddler for 6 hours while you drank ginger ale and called it self-care. 4. A real human being. Googled, "How long does it take to microwave a turkey?" And not in the ha-ha meme way. In the Thanksgiving panic and possible arson way. You just know someone stared into that microwave, 25-pound bird in hand, thinking, "Yeah, 10 minutes should do it." The sheer confidence required to attempt a poultry bomb is stunning. Imagine inviting people to dinner and serving them a half-cooked bird that looks like it crawled out of Chernobyl. Congratulations, you've just invented radioactive salmonella. 5. Then there's the philosopher who typed, "Can I eat my SIM card to stop the government from tracking me?" Buddy, if the government's after you, the SIM card is the least of your worries. They're not tracking your phone. They're tracking the fact that you just Googled that question. You're not hiding from Big Brother. You just became his favorite new meme. Also, let's be real. If your solution to surveillance involves swallowing electronics, maybe you deserve to be monitored for your own safety. 6. Can you get rabies from a hamster? Was someone's genuine concern. The answer is technically no, but emotionally, why are you like this? The idea of a rabid hamster attack is both terrifying and adorable, like a horror movie directed by Pixar. Picture someone staring at their pet, trembling, waiting for it to hiss in Latin and demand human blood. Meanwhile, the hamster's just wondering when the food pellets are coming. 7. Someone once Googled, "Why does my cat vibrate?" And I truly hope they're still recovering from the realization that purring is not a supernatural event. I like to imagine them sitting there, wide-eyed, convinced they're living with a small, furry generator from another dimension. You can almost hear their follow-up thought, "Do I need an exorcist or a charger?" Spoiler, neither, just better instincts. 8. Can you breathe underwater if you have lungs full of air? You know, I admire the curiosity. It's like watching someone try to reinvent drowning. Somewhere in a pool, this person probably gave it a go, thinking, "Science will understand me." It didn't. That's not how lungs work. That's how fish die pretending to be people. 9. Can you get tattoos removed with sandpaper? This one physically hurts me. Somewhere, an overconfident DIY enthusiast decided to skip the dermatologist and just exfoliate their regrets. You just know it started with how bad could it be and ended with a trip to the ER that included the phrase third degree exfoliation. 10. Can a microwave charge my phone? Imagine the confidence it takes to look at a metal box that literally cooks atoms and think, yeah, that's probably the same as a USB port. I picture this person plugging their iPhone in, pressing start, and hearing the sound of $900 worth of stupidity. That's not wireless charging, that's Darwin Award charging. 11. Is it illegal to name your kid Facebook? Yes, not legally, but morally. Absolutely yes. Imagine being in kindergarten and your teacher says, Facebook, please sit down. That child's therapy bill will be longer than War and Peace. The fact that someone had to Google this means we're one bad decision away from a baby named Wi-Fi. 12. Can you overdose on water? This one's extra fun because the answer is technically yes, but the kind of person who asks it definitely didn't mean that. You can almost hear them chugging their fifth smart water like it's the key to immortality. And honestly, it's peak modern irony. We live in a world where people are dehydrated and afraid of drinking too much water. 13. Can I sell my soul on eBay? At one point, someone actually tried this, and eBay had to make an official rule banning soul sales. Somewhere in Silicon Valley, a lawyer had to type the phrase, "no metaphysical items allowed," with a straight face. That's where civilization is at. The world's biggest marketplace had to clarify that you can't auction off your eternal essence. 14. Is it okay to eat toothpaste? I don't know what's worse, that someone asked this or that Google had to answer. Imagine someone mid-brushing, pausing like, wait, minty, refreshing, snack? That's not dental hygiene. That's the beginning of a chemical romance. It's like mistaking mouthwash for a cocktail because it burns and you like the color. 15. Do I have to be married to have a baby? No, but if you're asking Google that, maybe hold off on reproducing until you've mastered the concept of cause and effect. The birds and bees didn't fail you. You failed the birds, the bees, and basic literacy. I'd say it's biology 101, but at this point, it's more like biology 0.0. 16. Can you make diamonds in the microwave? Ah, yes, the bold dream of every broke romantic. Forget geology. We've got GE. Somewhere, someone thought they could compress carbon with leftover popcorn grease and manifest jewelry. The only thing that came out shining was the fire department's flashlight when they inspected the smoldering remains of their science experiment. 17. If I eat myself, will I become twice as big or disappear completely? This one deserves an award. That's not a question. That's a philosophical cry for help from someone whose brain accidentally entered a loading screen. It's both terrifying and impressive. It's like if Socrates did bath salts. The real question isn't what happens. It's how this person survived long enough to type it. 18. Someone actually Googled, can I get Wi-Fi through my microwave? And you know what? I respect the optimism. That's the kind of scientific spirit that built civilizations and then immediately burned them down. Picture it. A person standing in their kitchen, holding a phone toward the microwave like it's a satellite dish, whispering, come on, full bars. The irony is that if they press start, they will get full bars right on the hospital monitor after the explosion. Somewhere, a tech support agent read that question and just quietly deleted their resume. 19. Can the moon catch on fire? Look, I get it. You see that big glowing thing in the sky and you think, that's probably flammable. But no, unless you're planning to FedEx a giant lighter to space, the moon's not going up in flames. The person who Googled this probably imagines NASA keeping a fire extinguisher ready just in case, and I love that energy. The same logic that leads people to blow on birthday candles like they're saving the world. Somewhere, an astronomer just sighed into a telescope and questioned every career choice that brought them to this moment. 20. Can I mail a taco? Honestly, that's the most American question ever asked. Someone looked at a warm, messy, perishable food and thought, this belongs in the postal system. I picture a sad mail carrier handing over a grease-stained envelope that smells like regret and mild salsa. there's a 100% chance the person followed it up with, "How much is postage for extra guac?" And now, thanks to them, somewhere in USPS training, there's a line that says, "Do not accept tacos." Again. 21. Someone Googled, "Is a turtle without a shell homeless or naked?" And that, my friends, is what happens when philosophy majors get Wi-Fi. You can practically hear them in their dorm, sipping off-brand kombucha, staring at a turtle documentary like it's an existential crisis. The answer, tragically, is neither. It's dead. But let's not ruin the poetry. Somewhere out there, this person's still lying awake at night thinking about tiny turtle mortgages. 22. Can you fart in space? The fact that someone typed that into Google isn't the problem. It's that multiple astronauts have actually answered it. Yes, you can. And apparently it's pressurized. I love that humanity built the International Space Station, sent people to orbit the Earth, and the first thing we asked was, "Cool, can I still rip one?" It's comforting to know that no matter how far we advance, our priorities stay perfectly stupid. 23. Can you get arrested for dying? I would pay to see the police report. Suspect refused to respond to questioning. Pulse uncooperative. Somewhere, someone read a news story about debt collectors and thought, "Wait, do they put you in ghost jail?" This is the kind of logic that happens when you fall asleep during Law and Order and wake up mid-autopsy scene. Google probably had to forward this one to the afterlife department. 24. Can I teach my dog to drive? Yes, apparently someone believed their golden retriever was one turn signal away from getting a license. I want to know the plan here. Did they buckle him in, adjust the mirrors, maybe throw on some sunglasses so he looks professional? Dogs can't even remember where they buried their toys, but sure, let's put them behind the wheel of a 2-ton vehicle. The only way this could have gone better is if the person tried to argue with the DMV. 25. Can blind people see in their dreams? A touching question if it hadn't been immediately followed by, "If not, how do they know they're asleep?" That's the kind of inquiry that makes philosophers stare into the void, and the void ask for a refund. It's both sweet and deeply confusing, like someone trying to explain Wi-Fi to a potato. But hey, at least this person's curiosity was wholesome. Mildly brain-melting, but wholesome. 26. Can I microwave metal if I do it really fast? I'm obsessed with the optimism. This person believes speed can outwit physics. Like, if you just slam the microwave door and hit stop fast enough, you'll somehow dodge the explosion. That's not cooking. That's playing Russian roulette with your kitchen. Somewhere, there's a landlord looking at a melted appliance thinking, "Yup, another genius scientist lived here." 27. Is it normal to bleed when you brush your teeth with bleach? No, but it is normal to lose your security deposit when you do it in a shared apartment. I want to believe this person read an old cleaning blog and decided dental hygiene and house cleaning were interchangeable. There's confidence, and then there's this. Imagine explaining to a dentist that you're whitening your teeth with the same product you use on tile grout. That's not self-care. That's a chemical incident. 28. Can a tattoo get pregnant? I wish that were fake. The person who asked it probably stared at their partner's ink and thought, "Wait, what if it passes it on?" Somewhere, a biology teacher fainted. That's not how genetics work. That's how bad fan fiction happens. The only thing that tattoos giving birth to is regret after your third tequila shot. 29. Can I charge my laptop with a potato? This one's technically half true, which makes it worse because you know someone actually tried it. I picture them sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by potatoes and wires, like a failed science fair for adults. The real tragedy? They probably succeeded just enough to believe in themselves. Nothing's more dangerous than a slightly functional idiot. 30. Can you drown in a bowl of soup? Somewhere, someone got too cozy with their lunch and thought, "I might not make it." I imagine this was a person who watched one too many slow-motion noodle ads and started seeing danger in the miso. Google must have sighed before responding, "Not unless you're really, really committed." Humanity's survival rate is honestly miraculous. 31. How many calories are in a fingernail? I wish I was kidding. Someone looked at their hand, felt hungry, and thought, let's check my fitness pal. It's like the worst diet ever conceived: low carb, high therapy bills. Somewhere, a nutritionist just dropped their kale smoothie and reevaluated their career. The answer's about 5 calories per nail, by the way. But the cost to your dignity is immeasurable. 32. Can you get drunk by eating yeast? Technically, yes, but spiritually, that's rock bottom. You've reached a point where the concept of beer is too complicated, so you're mainlining bread ingredients. That's not innovation. That's a cry for help disguised as a science experiment. If you ever find yourself Googling that, maybe take a walk, drink some water, and call a friend who isn't also Googling it. 33. Can I use a hairdryer in the shower? You can, once. That's the kind of question where Darwin personally appears just to hand you the paperwork. I imagine this person holding the dryer, looking at the outlet and thinking, the odds aren't that bad. This isn't hygiene, it's Russian roulette with conditioner. If your morning routine includes the phrase electrical hazard, maybe go back to basics. 34. Can I put a band-aid on my heart? Poetic, yes, anatomically horrifying. Somewhere, this person was nursing a breakup and decided Google could double as a therapist. You can almost see them in candlelight, typing with tears in their eyes while Celine Dion plays in the background. It's tragic and kind of beautiful, until you remember it's a medical search engine, not Adele. 35. Someone once Googled, can I cook pasta in a coffee maker? And you know what? They actually did it. Boiled water, added noodles, and proudly uploaded it like they just reinvented civilization. Nothing says culinary innovation like using the same device that made your sad 6 a.m. espresso to cook your dinner. I imagine the taste being somewhere between despair and burnt plastic. Somewhere, an Italian grandmother just felt a disturbance in the force, clutched her chest, and whispered, they used the filter basket as a colander, didn't they? Yes, yes, they did. Because in America, we don't need logic. We have appliance-based chaos and a complete lack of boundaries. 36. Can I use a drone to walk my dog? A question that perfectly sums up modern laziness. Picture it. A golden retriever jogging down the sidewalk while a quadcopter buzzes overhead, dragging a leash like the saddest dystopian Pixar short ever made. The owner's probably watching through a Ring camera, sipping iced coffee, calling it innovation. Somewhere in the world, a drone pilot is doing dog walking gigs for people who have truly lost the will to stand up. I can't tell if it's genius or just the end of civilization. Probably both. 37. Someone genuinely searched, can I eat a candle if I'm hungry? I don't know what moment in life leads to that decision, but it's definitely not a good one. You don't go from I could order pizza to I could melt wax unless something has gone profoundly wrong. And I love that they had to check with Google first, as if Google was their dietitian. Hey doc, are vanilla-scented calories still calories? The answer, in case it's unclear, is yes, and also, what's wrong with you? 38. Can you get tan from a computer screen? I admire the optimism of someone who looked at their monitor and thought, that's basically the sun. That's not science, that's wishful thinking from a person whose skin tone is set to office printer. Imagine explaining to your dermatologist that your tanning strategy involves YouTube and 400 open tabs. Somewhere, a gamer paused mid-match to Google this and thought, maybe my acne's just vitamin D deficiency. 39. Someone once asked, can I legally marry myself? And yes, they were completely serious. There's an entire subculture of people who've held full wedding ceremonies, tuxedos, cake, vows, and all, with themselves, which, honestly, is kind of inspiring until you realize they still had to argue with a government clerk about filing solo marriage paperwork. Imagine showing up to the DMV like, hi, it's me. I'd like to make it official with me. That's not love. That's a tax deduction with commitment issues. 40. Can I make my baby vegan before it's born? Oh yes, prenatal plant-based parenting. Somewhere, a person genuinely worried their unborn child was sneaking cheeseburgers through the umbilical cord. That's not science, that's Instagram brain rot. I can just picture them whispering affirmations to their stomach like, "You are kind, you are pure, you are cruelty free." Meanwhile, the fetus is in there like, "I crave iron, Karen." 41. Someone once Googled, "Can you get Wi Fi on the moon?" And the answer is no. But I love that someone asked. That's the optimism of a generation raised on 5 bars of entitlement. Imagine standing outside at night, staring at the moon, holding your phone up like, "Come on, just 1 bar." It's like watching humanity's collective brain buffering in real time. NASA's spent billions exploring space, and somewhere, Chad is still trying to connect to Lunar Guest Network. 42. Can you use a toaster in the bathtub if you wear rubber gloves? That's not curiosity. That's Darwin doing push ups in anticipation. It's like the sequel to Can I Use a Hairdryer in the Shower, but with more electricity and less survival instinct. Somewhere, electrician is screaming into the void while this person's thinking, what if I'm just really careful? You can't life hack physics. You can, however, meet God via appliance. 43. Can fish get thirsty? The fact that someone actually needed to type that feels like a cry for help from the education system. You just know they were staring at their aquarium, watching Nemo swim, whispering, "Buddy, you okay in there?" Fish don't get thirsty because they live in water. It's literally the one environment designed to prevent that. That's like asking if birds ever get homesick for the sky. 44. Someone Googled, "How do I delete a Facebook post in real life?" I love this one because it perfectly captures the horror of being online. You post one bad take, regret it instantly, and now you're asking Google how to erase yourself from existence. Somewhere, Mark Zuckerberg probably smiled, knowing you can't. It's not just the internet, it's forever, which ironically is also how long your relatives will bring it up at Thanksgiving. 45. Can I sue my reflection for bullying me? Now we're in philosophy territory again, or possibly psychosis. Either way, that's one of the most aggressively 21st century thoughts I've ever heard. It's self loathing meets litigation. Imagine filing that case. Your Honor, the mirror was being rude. The only thing dumber than this lawsuit is knowing someone probably practiced their opening statement to the mirror. 46. Can ghosts get pregnant? I'm just gonna let that one breathe. Somewhere, someone sat in the dark, probably post horror movie, staring into space, or maybe into their haunted Airbnb, and thought, wait, what if Casper's not single? That's the kind of question that tells you we, as a species, have peaked. We started with fire and ended with spectral maternity concerns. Humanity's arc is complete. 47. Can I text 911? Yes, but only for emergencies, not, as one person tried, to complain about slow Wi Fi. There's a special kind of stupid reserved for someone who thinks emergency services are customer support. Imagine the dispatcher reading that message like, "Sir, this is a literal life or death line." And he's like, "Yeah, and my Netflix won't load." Somewhere, a 911 operator now starts their day with an extra coffee just to deal with people like that. 48. Can you eat a cloud? I adore this one because it's both pure and deeply idiotic. Someone looked at the sky and thought, that looks soft. Bet it tastes like marshmallow. I like to think it was an adult too, not a kid, just some grown up standing outside with an open mouth, waiting for atmospheric dessert. This is the same energy as people who think rainwater's organic Gatorade. 49. Someone once asked, can my reflection steal my soul? Which honestly explains the rise in people covering their mirrors with blankets during sleep paralysis TikToks. But let's be honest, if your reflection could steal your soul, most of us would have lost ours in a Target fitting room years ago. The real horror isn't the mirror stealing your soul. It's the lighting, reminding you what you actually look like at 3 p.m. under fluorescent despair. 50. Can you overdose on vitamins if they're gummy? Absolutely. And it's how every millennial who grew up on Flintstones vitamins is statistically destined to die. There's a dangerous confidence that comes from thinking something shaped like a bear can't kill you. It's the same logic that leads people to say, it's fine, it's natural, right before they're Googling, why is my liver vibrating? If Darwin had a Yelp review section, this question would have 5 stars and a would not recommend. 51. And finally, my personal favorite, how do I delete my Google search history from Google's memory? Oh, sweetheart, you can't. You can clear your browser, wipe your device, move to the woods, change your name, and live under an alias. But Google remembers. Forever. Every dumb question, every panic search, every microwave turkey moment immortalized in the servers of Silicon Valley. You can't escape it. So next time you type something questionable into that little search bar, just know you're not asking Google. You're confessing to it. And congratulations, you've just made the internet a slightly dumber, infinitely funnier place. And there you have it, proof that humanity's greatest invention, the internet, is also its biggest cry for help. We turned the sum of all human knowledge into a digital confessional for panic, confusion, and half-baked science experiments. So go ahead, drop your favorite dumb Google search in the comments. Vote for the one that broke your faith in humanity. And if you somehow made it through this list without Googling something equally stupid, congratulations, you're lying. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Probably researching whether sarcasm is contagious.